Welcome back to What's New in the Lou with Alexis Zotos, presented by Kaldi's Coffee. This is your can't miss weekly podcast, helping you stay in the know on all things fun in St. Louis. We're talking about all those great events, the best new restaurants that are opening, but most importantly, the people that make St. Louis the best place to live and visit. Now, stick around to the end of the episode because after our interview, we're going to share a calendar of exactly what's happening this week so you know what's going on before you see it and feel all left out on social media. Now, spring is here in St. Louis. That has brought some rain, but that means the flowers are coming. And one of the best ways to get outside in the spring and summer is on our incredible Greenway system. So I am excited to sit down with Emma Klues, the VP of commute. I'm going to mess up this title here, but
communications and outreach.
There we go.
Yep.
For Great Rivers Greenway. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.
I love our Greenway system.
Me too.
I mean, obviously you do, but it's incredible. And it's something that I still feel like people don't fully understand and know about.
Yes.
How do you on a daily basis work to help educate people about our incredible Greenway system?
Yeah, I really love to share the story of sort of how it came to be because I think it's so great that it came from the community. So this originated back in the 90s. People were doing lots of public surveys. There was an effort called St. Louis 2004. And they said, you know, what 1904 was a big deal for St. Louis. What 2004 is coming up? What's the legacy of our time? And a lot of the answers were parks and greenways and, you know, getting outside. So they put that on the ballot and we were created by a vote of the people in the year 2000. So a tiny little percentage of sales tax when you buy your coffee, a tiny little bit of that goes back to the greenways. And with community input and really that engagement driving it, we are trying to connect together the whole region. So this is the city, the county, and St. Charles County connecting together with a whole network of greenways.
140 miles.
And counting.
And counting. But that's incredible. And I think one of the things that perhaps confuses people is when people are like, I don't really know what a greenway is. How do you easily describe to people what is a greenway?
Yes, it's basically a trail plus. So it's a paved pathway that's accessible. You can get outside, push a stroller, roll a wheelchair, take a walk, go for a run, ride a bicycle, plus all of the stuff that you want along the way. So the amenities, bike racks, benches, water fountains, you know, those types of things. Conservation projects and plants and native Missouri trees along the way, and then connections to all the destinations around our region.
And the connecting point is really what it all comes down to. We are you're connecting our region.
Yes.
And that's something that I think people, as you said, they want that connection. They want that ability to have that walkable community, that ability to get out safely, walk their kids, walk their dogs, take a bike ride. How when you think about 140 miles and what comes after that, I mean, is it an always planning kind of thing?
Yes, it is. So the general, you know, we always check in with the community. We update our strategic plan every 5 years. So this year is one of those years as well. So we always want to make sure that we're on the right track and spending people's dollars the way they want us to. But generally people want more and more. They want them faster than we can build them, which is a great problem to have. But people really see them as a need to have, not just a nice to have. It's part of their quality of life. It's a transportation option. It's a way to be healthy and get outside and get exercise. It's a way to connect to each other, it's a way to connect to nature. And so we've been hearing from people that, you know, they do want more and more. So the eventual vision is 500 or 600 miles. We don't know that exact number because the community will continue to tell us what those priorities are. But yes, we're always there's about 25 or 30 projects in any given budget year in all the different stages of planning, design, engineering, construction. And so we're just always trying to make sure there's something in the pipeline.
And we're going to dive into that timeline aspect in a little bit, because that is something that they want it faster than you can do it. And it is a lengthy process to get these things done. One of the big ones that you guys are working on right now, and a chunk of it is opening, is the Brickline Greenway.
Yes.
You guys have a chunk of that opening next week, Market Street, downtown, a very exciting project. Talk to me about that.
Brickline Greenway is a huge, incredible public-private partnership in the city. So this is Forest Park on the west to the Gateway Arch National Park on the east, Fairground Park on the north, Tower Grove Park on the south, and lots of places in between, in partnership with the city and then many other partners along the way. So we're building 10 miles. The city has a couple projects that will connect Tower Grove Connector by Tower Grove Park and 20th Street as well. And the section that's opening is the mile-long stretch on Market Street between Harris-Stowe State University at Compton all the way to 20th Street at the Energizer Park Stadium. So this is a mile of Market Street. It's opening on Monday, April 13th from 4:30 to 6:30. We'll have our big party. Everyone should come. And we're just excited to celebrate because it's not only a great greenway and it's, really re-envisioned Market Street to work for everyone, but it also has the Pillars of the Valley art installation from Damon Davis. So if you've ever seen those big pillars at the soccer stadium, now there will be another installation at Jefferson and Market and then more at Harris Stowe. So it's now a mile-long art installation.
One of the really cool things that I think about this section is that you've created 2 paths. You have like the sort of like direct path for the walkers, the bikers, that they got somewhere to go. But then you have this also sort of meandering part of the path for people who want to just like kind of explore the art that you've created along the way and the nature that's there.
Yeah. Not only can they connect to that art and nature, but also the history of that place. And the path itself, part of that meandering is also, this is the home of the Mill Creek Valley neighborhood and also where Mill Creek runs underground. A lot of our waterways in St. Louis were covered up after our big cholera epidemic. And so the meandering part is where you can really, take in the sights and experience it. Maybe you meet up with somebody and chat and hang out on one of the seat walls or a bench for a little while, but you've got that direct path as well if you've got somewhere to be, just like you said.
So first off, I want to say for anyone listening or watching, you can also pull up on your website right now a map as we're talking about all of this. You guys have a really great interactive map that highlights, what's been built, what's being built, what's to come. So if you guys are listening and you're like, wait, where are we talking about? Pull up that map. It's on their website, greatriversgreenway.com.org. And, but anyway, okay. So Brickline. So this is 1 mile of a huge project that's been in the works for
almost 10 years
almost
now.
10 years. I feel like you and I talked about this really early on. It had a different name back at the time, but now it is Brickline Greenway. And this is just one of those, I think, truly transformative projects for our community.
Absolutely.
When you think big picture, what this could do to our region when it's fully completed, what goes through your mind?
I think about a lot of our peers across the country. So we've done a lot of visiting and studying all of our peers. So like the High Line in New York City and the Indianapolis Cultural Trail, the Beltline in Atlanta. How have these been a catalyst for opportunity for these cities to bring vibrancy and life? And, 10 miles of connectivity just within the city as part of our larger network. There's a couple things that come to mind. One is that it's obviously a way to get around and move differently. And I think that I call the technical term is making a day of it. So, we have St. Louis is a city full of incredible treasures and destinations, but they're not always connected together. A lot of people drive in and go to one thing and then leave. And so we're reknitting the city together in a lot of these neighborhoods, a lot of these major cultural institutions. You've got Grand Center, you've got higher education, you have neighborhood schools and churches and, people's homes, but offering people the connective tissue to get in between all of those things without necessarily having to drive in between allows you to sort of make a day of it. Find that new coffee shop that you didn't know about, or find a new restaurant, or stumble upon a little shop, that type of thing. So I think moving through your city differently really helps you fall in love with it as well. There's just, that's where you meet up with someone, discover something new. And then on a larger scale, this is an opportunity for economic opportunity. Excuse me. Many of these places that we've seen, and we're doing this very intentionally with community. Let's fill in some of those vacant lots. What do people want? Do you want your neighborhood repopulated a little bit if you've had some vacancy? How can we do that in a really intentional way that helps the neighbors who are here now while also inviting new folks to come in? And so, hopefully for the people who are here now and the people who may come, this makes St. Louis connected, vibrant, always something going on, and a real point of pride.
That north to south connector is huge, and as is the east to west or west east, however you want to think about it. But what I think is interesting, this idea of connecting Forest Park to the Gateway Arch are 2 sort of gems, if you will, of our region. And there's not an easy way if you didn't want to be in a car to get from, and honestly, if you want to be in the car, there's still not like a direct path. So was that a big idea of this, to connect these 2 incredible green spaces with a greenway?
Exactly. And that idea actually predates us. So that was an idea. It was formerly called the Shoto Greenway. That was around in the 90s. But as we revived that idea, in 2017, 2018, people really told us, listen, most of the central corridor, we need that, but we also live north and south of that, right? There's more residential. And so we want to be able to get to it. So that's why we really branched out into north, south, east, and west.
So, okay. So the Market Street portion going to be done in a week. Basically ready. We're so excited for it. And then you've got 2 other parts that are like really under construction right now. Talk
Yes.
about that part that's
Yes.
fully under construction right now.
Yep. So North Grand is under construction right
Mhm.
now from Natural Bridge at Fairground Park, south to Cass, over to Spring. And I will give a shout out. The businesses on North Grand are open. They are accessible. I know
There you
it
go.
looks like we're all under construction, and we are, but we want to make sure we're really supporting those businesses. And then later this fall, either late summer or early fall, we'll go into construction on Spring Avenue from Page to Lindell, right at the St. Louis University campus.
Mhm.
So that whole northern connector will be under construction by the end of this year.
Construction is a big part of what you guys do. You know, how do you work with communities, businesses to help them, you know, get through what can sometimes probably be a little bit of a headache with construction, and knowing that what's on the other end of it is so worth it?
Yes, a lot of it is that starting very early, right? So this project in the North Connector in particular, started engagement in 2020, 2021,
Mhm.
going door to door, mailers, block parties, Northside Night Out, you name it, neighborhood meetings, going to church meetings, wherever, whoever would have us. We were happy to chat with folks because they know the community better than we do. We want them to inform this project. We might know the technical factors, but they really know what's going to work, block to block. And so hearing from them, mixing that with what's possible until we get to that construction timeline. When we started construction, we did a couple different strategies. One is our construction team actually created an office in the project site so people can stop by and ask questions anytime, in partnership with Mission St. Louis. We also had monthly construction open house meetings, just like, do you have any questions? Do you want to talk directly to the team?
Yeah.
And so they were available every month for the first 6 months, and now they're every quarter, just since it's, been going on for a little bit now. So we want to make sure that we're available and that people can answer those questions, and then that we are being very clear, keeping access, putting up signage to explain where people can go, those types of things. And then, working on some ideas to just help support the businesses directly as well.
Yeah. It's exciting to see. And we know that construction, no matter what, takes time.
Mhm.
And these are complicated projects because it's right of ways and utilities and all the
Exactly.
things.
You might find trolley tracks under there. There was one diagram that I saw early on that said assumed trolley track location, because once you start digging up the street, you don't always know exactly what will be there. So it's complex.
You've been with Brickline Greenway for 12 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've gotten to see the end of some of these projects, to see that community reaction.
Mhm.
What is that like to you? And then is there like one of the greenways that you can point to that you've really gotten to see like the benefits of all of this hard work come to light?
It's everything. It's everything for us to have, one of my colleagues shares the anecdote about somebody coming to one of the openings and pointing at something and being like, I said something in a meeting and that's why that's there.
Love
And
that.
that's exactly what we're all about. But really that's the story of the community informing what they're doing and then being able to have that pride and ownership over the Greenway. It's really cool to see a rendering become real and come to life. A similar story, the St. Vincent Greenway was a super cool project. The Trojan Park, and specifically, if y'all have not been to Trojan Park, it's on Skinker between Olive and Page, Skinker and Etzel. And it's along the St. Vincent Greenway, but it was built in a really cool partnership with the National Recreation and Park Association, the national conference. About 8,000 Park and Rec employees were here in 2016, and they try to leave a park better than they found it every time they go to a new city.
That's cool.
It's great. It's a great program. And so we were able to build a park within a year, which is very fast for a whole park. But the community of Wellston really got to pick out, they didn't have a full court basketball court. Wellston has a pretty significant legacy of basketball. They've sent several of their high school kids to the NBA. So it was really cool to be able to, they got to name it Trojan Park after the Eskridge High School Trojans, which is, the school's no longer there once they consolidated with the Normandy School District. So they got to pick out, we want exercise equipment, and there's musical and playgrounds and things like that. And our CEO at the time was there one night. It was just after it had opened, and she was just checking something out, and there was a woman standing on the sidewalk just outside the park, and she was crying. And our CEO, Susan, was like, hey, are you, is everything okay?
Yeah.
And she just said, I never thought I would see anything like this in my lifetime in Wellston. And I think seeing communities respond to this being their park and to have beautiful amenities that they can use and that impact their quality of life throughout the region, regardless of the resources, is a huge piece of what motivates us.
USA Today readers have named Kaldi's Coffee the best coffee chain for the second year in a row. Since 1994, Kaldi's Coffee has built its reputation on thoughtful sourcing, careful roasting, and warm, consistent service that shows up in every cup. It's an honor earned through daily dedication to quality. Explore Kaldi's best blends and find your cafe at kaldiscoffee.com. And that's the thing, because even as people might not even realize that what they're stepping outside for, what the path that they walk, down every day, they might not realize that it's part of this giant system, which is really cool when you think about all that connectivity and the idea of continuing to connect all these pathways. In addition to the Brickline Greenway, what's coming down the pipeline? What are some of the other projects that you guys are working on that you're excited about?
So many, but it's exciting. So nearby the Brickline Greenway, the Hodemont Greenway is a greenway that is just a couple blocks north of Delmar and the old Hodemont streetcar line. So this used to be a streetcar line and then became a bus route, and it is now just a very wide alley. So we're talking 60 or 100 feet sometimes. I mean, it's a huge alley. And so we're going to really reimagine it because the community really wants that. And the first chunk of it is in construction at Gwen Giles Park. So that is cranking along. I'm excited to open that first section. And then we have other projects going on, Deer Creek Greenway here in Maplewood in the city of St. Louis, to be able to connect the existing Deer Creek Greenway to the River to Pear Greenway. So a nice confluence of the two greenways there. We have a project in St. Charles County, a new trailhead at the Darden Greenway. We've got a Maylene Greenway is going into construction this year. So this is in Ferguson and Delwood and Bellefontaine Neighbors in North County. There's always something going on. And so that's part of what is so exciting about this. But we've also just had, last night was an open house on Sunset Greenway in Florissant to get community feedback about an extension there. So really, no matter where you live, I encourage people to check out what's going on near you. Can you get involved and give your input? Because again, you are the experts in your community.
Yeah. I know this is like the question of your favorite child, but do you have not maybe a favorite greenway, but a greenway that you love to go and explore?
Yes, it is a hard question, but I just give a different answer every time. So
okay, that works.
I would say one that I want to go to soon because I haven't been in a little while is the Maylene Greenway in Bellefontaine County Park. So this is in North County. And my favorite part is that it crosses 367, bisects the park. So the park is in two chunks on either side of that highway, which is not a safe road to cross.
Sure,
it's a higher speed. But we built the greenway alongside the creek under that. So you can get from either side now. And there's just really big, beautiful cottonwood trees. And I like feeling small and big with those big trees. So I really like that one. But I also will say, just because of the season we're in, the Merrimack Greenway near the Glencoe Trailhead, the bluebells are going to be popping. So definitely go to Maylene sometime. But if you need to go right now, you might want to go catch those wildflowers.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like with the greenways, there's a lot of different things that you can do on all the different aspects. Like some of them are more, immerse yourself in nature.
Yes.
Some of them are more, you're in an urban area.
Yep.
Some of them are art, it's the art that you get to see on them. How do you choose or is it dictated by just where it is and what's around it? How do you guys choose what is on the greenway in addition to the sidewalk itself?
Yeah, I think there's always, we kind of think of 5 big pillars of outcomes that the greenways can achieve. So you've got your transportation, you've got your economic opportunity, health, conservation, and community. Okay. And so all of those exist to some extent, but some of them are kind of dialed up or dialed down depending on what you're doing. So if you're in, next to the Merrimack River and, there's a pretty rural area, maybe probably a little less economic specific activity, and maybe a little bit more conservation opportunity. But some of that is from, like you said, just the constraints of what's there. Some of that comes from the community. So early on in the process, what are their goals? What are the opportunities? What are other partners maybe doing nearby? So, when we were even thinking about like the Brickline Greenway art on Market Street, St. Louis City SC was building their stadium and they were willing to put some art there on their campus. To my knowledge, the first of its kind on a major league sports campus.
Very cool,
something like that. And so some of it is what's available, what's the opportunity, what does the community want, and what's that greenway feel going to help fit in that context of that place.
You mentioned partners. You guys cannot do this without the partners that you have. Yes. Talk about that relationship you have with the different entities that make these greenways possible.
Everything we do is in partnership. I've been here 12 years and I haven't yet figured out anyone we wouldn't partner with because we are just all over the region.
Hmm.
It's a region of 1,200 square miles. It's the size of Yosemite or Rhode Island.
It's
And we're just trying to
crazy.
connect it all together. Just like 120 towns
just
and
like a full
different,
state.
yeah, no big deal. And so we work with the municipalities, with different state agencies, with, again, local businesses, nonprofits, churches, schools, you name it. And the original idea was that we would build the greenways, but then we would turn them over to others to operate and maintain.
Mm,
That's a really complicated model in a region of 120 towns
sure.
with wildly different budgets and equipment and all
Mhm.
kinds of things. So we've really had to evolve our model to think about what any given greenway needs and how we can help shore that up, regardless of, again, what resources that community might have. So, and we talked about Trojan Park earlier. City of Wellston does some of the maintenance. We work with folks as well. We bring in volunteers sometimes. Sometimes we have a private contractor help with something. St. Louis County Parks helps a little bit, even though it's not a county park. They've stepped in to do a little bit of support. Wellston is a very tiny town.
Mhm.
There is no parks department. There are about 2 part-time operations people. So they're doing amazing work, but they're limited in what they
Sure.
can offer. So when you need a certified playground inspector, maybe St. Louis County Parks can help or things like that to sort of it takes a village model on any given project.
Yeah.
So partnership is everything, and it's a huge piece of what we do. Thank you. Shout out to our partners.
um, in addition to those partners, you guys coordinate with so many people to put on really cool events on the greenways. Where summer is approaching, spring is here. You guys have a full calendar of events.
Yes.
Why is that part important? In addition to just creating these spaces to then provide events and activations within these parks and these greenway systems.
It comes back to the community told us they wanted to, it's not enough to just build them. We want to activate them. We want to have programs. So we have, my colleague said the other day, we have 50 programs in the next 3 months.
Wow.
Whether that's beginner bird watching with Audubon Society, again, still in partnership, free yoga with Yoga Buzz. There's greenway walking tours there. We're doing a hike with a hound with a rescue. So if you would like to walk a dog and maybe take it home, I'll defer to the rescue on whether that's possible, but like what a great excuse to get out there. And
Yeah.
really what we've heard from people, the programs and events are a great gateway to get you to the Greenway for the first time.
Mhm.
And so if you always have thought about going to a Greenway, but you're not sure how do I get there exactly? Where do I get on? How does it work?
Where do I park? What do I do?
Yeah, exactly. What's the nearest metro stop? How am I getting there? These programs and events give you for free a chance to just try it out. And then you know how to come back, bring your family next weekend for a great wildflower hike or, come back another time or use it for a new part of your route to work. And so these programs and events offer people a chance to get outside, maybe learn something new, but particularly really meet the Greenway and understand that it's there for you and how do you want to use it going forward.
The age range of who uses greenways, I imagine, is all the way from 0
All of the
to
people.
however old
Yeah.
St. Louis is.
Exactly.
How do you consider that when you're thinking about these greenways? I know that there's some have storybook trails on them.
Mhm.
Some are probably geared more that older generation. What is your hope when you're thinking about all of those different lives of people that are using these greenways? What do you think about when you kind of think about that age aspect and aging with the greenways?
Yes, exactly. We want them to be usable by everyone. So we try to build the infrastructure for everyone, right?
Mhm.
Everybody needs to go to the bathroom. Try to get as many restrooms out there as possible.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to have water and a bench and things, throughout your life, you'll probably have a need. You might be changing a diaper, you might be taking a break
Mm-hmm.
and everywhere in between. And so we want to build the infrastructure where anyone can use it for anything. But then some of those programs and events was where we could target. So we do a lot of programs with Oasis, which is for
Mhm.
active older adults. We do some of those story time and stroll with the library and some of the parent groups in town. So we want to invite anyone to it. And those programs and events are where we can get a little bit more specific. But hopefully the infrastructure is there for you no matter what season of life you're in, no matter what your ability is. We take a lot of care in making sure that these are accessible. And so even though that means putting down pavement, which is less exciting for the environmental aspect, but we're, again, supplementing with lots of plantings along the way, we really feel like everyone should be able to get out there. If you're in a wheelchair, using a walker, pushing a stroller, rollerblading, however you want to use them, we want them to be accessible for you. So I think the infrastructure is really for everyone, but hopefully the programs can entice different folks to make sure that they feel seen and represented. Even just all the photos that we share on our marketing materials, we really try to make sure that we're showing all of the different people that are using the greenways
Mhm.
so that people know that this is for them.
Is there a most used greenway?
You know, because Centennial Greenway, part of it is on the Washington University campus. College traffic is kind of hard to beat, so that's probably the highest one. And then Gravois Greenway, also known as Grants Trail, is one of the more popular ones.
Because, people talk about this all the time that they might not realize, Grants Farm, amazing place, free, but not free to park.
Yeah.
But
you
if
take
you
the
take
Greenway.
the Greenway, you could have a completely free day at one of our prize gems in St. Louis.
Absolutely.
So you can bike there or walk there, and
even if it's closed, if it's your on and off time, just check out the Clydesdale, say hello.
Exactly.
See the plot out your route. Yeah.
But there's just so many hidden gems. Is there I know we've talked about some of the, the ones that you like and the ones that you want to explore more. Is there a hidden gem along this 140 miles of Greenway you wish more people knew about?
Yes, there are several, but I'll give you one. So St. Vincent Greenway in St. Vincent County Park. This is off the St. Charles Rock Road near the St. Charles Metrolink Station, Rock Road Metrolink Station. It's tucked back off of the road, so I think a lot of people don't even know that the park is there, but it just, you go back in there, there's a whole aquatic center, there's tennis courts, there's playgrounds, and the Greenway goes along a boardwalk. It's through the woods. You feel really tucked away until you then hear the Metrolink train. You're like, okay, I'm still in St. Louis.
Yeah.
But it just feels like a hidden gem. It's an oasis, certainly in the heat. It's really a forested area that feels cooler. And so I love that one because I just feel like you just kind of have to know how to get there because it's tucked back from the road. So I like to tell people about that one, but all over the region, they're all different and they all have something different to offer. One other example I'll throw out is Boschert Greenway in St. Charles comes from downtown St. Charles. So you're in, the adorable Main Street area if you want to grab a bite to eat. And then it winds its way through several parks out to Newtown. So a totally different type of, community, but all in that same area and offers you that diversity of experience. But you can get ice cream on either end. So that's what's most important to me.
That's you get out, you walk, you bike. And you get ice cream.
That's
right?
Exactly right.
Okay. We've talked about sort of how you guys got started. We talked about where you are now. This year, as you mentioned, is a 5-year sort of check-in. What's the big picture? When you think 20, 30, 50 years down the road for Great Rivers Greenway, what's the vision?
So on some level, we'll keep building those greenways as long as people want us to do that. And the community will continue to inform where those go and how that works. So I don't think that's changing. But we do really want to make sure that we're evolving our model to meet the needs of the community. So for instance, in the last couple of years, we redid the whole plan for St. Charles County because St. Charles County looks very different than it did when we first drew our lines on our map in 2004. And we may see other evolutions in our region that we want to be responsive to. And so that's sort of on that building side. The other major aspect to think about is how can the greenways be a catalyst for economic opportunity? We talked about that a little bit with Brickline Greenway, but I think we have more and more opportunity to do that as we have done some of the easier greenways to build. I don't want to say that they were easy. They were a lot of hard work, but some of the greenways that were perhaps within a park or within an area that was, already had the land acquired or things like that. And so as we get into some of these denser parts of connecting the region together, what can that really do to transform opportunity for St. Louisans? Is that a way to get to work differently? Is that a way to, bring new businesses and life to some areas that maybe don't have it? And so I think that's another aspect that we want to think about long term. And then that ongoing operations and maintenance is a challenge. Again, with lots of different partners and taking care of them. We want to make sure people have an excellent experience, that things remain high quality and safe and fun to use. So that's something that we want to continue. We've got an Adopt a Greenway program we've been piloting the last couple of years, letting people come in and support their specific stretch of Greenway. So those are some of the big picture things that we're thinking about. Resources across the region may ebb and flow, budgets change. We're here for the long term. So we really want to think about how we can make sure that we're staying resilient and that we have this Greenway network for years to come.
I think you said, is there a goal of mileage?
500 or 600 miles is the general idea. Okay. And again, the community will continue to tell us. So people are like, when exactly will it be done? I'm like, we don't know.
There is no because it's also impossible to predict what the community wants or looks like years, decades.
And that's not how we work. We don't work with a preordained thing that we think we should do, right? We listen to the community and then continue to iterate. So yes, we want everything to be connected. And that might look different over time. There, sometimes municipalities are building their own greenways and adding to the system. That's fantastic.
Which I'm sure is
exciting. We don't want to be the only game in town. That's great. Coordinating with us often or using our standards or our recommendations. But we will be done when the community says we're done. And so this will probably be decades. And, right now, again, we're hopeful for that support to continue. But if the community has different priorities or, wants to see something different, then we'll roll with that as it comes.
Have you, or do you know of anyone who has walked all 140 miles of the Greenway system?
I'm very close. So I had them all until we opened a couple new ones last year, and I haven't gotten. So the new Centennial Greenway in Olivet that opened last year, I still need to walk part of it. You go for like an opening, but you don't maybe do the whole mile. You just do a part of it because you're throwing a party. So I'm very close, but not all of them. But there's somebody that is featured in our People of the Greenways that did all of them, and she offered up her map and Excel spreadsheet tracker. So it's on our website if you want to pursue your own goal. But it's a pretty big lift because they're not all connected yet.
Right.
So, some of them you do have to drive to. They're not accessible by transit. Some of them are easy to get to, but I reached all of them during the height of the pandemic. That was one of my projects.
Yeah.
So we did get there, but then we've built more. So
I
was there, but now I'm behind again. So, I'm working on it.
Whether you do 140 miles or just 1 mile of it, there's a lot to explore.
For sure. And we welcome people to do that in whatever way they want.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much, Emma.
Yeah, thank you.
There is always so much going on with Great Rivers Greenway. We have a link to the map we talked about in this episode, as well as a calendar of all of their events. You can find it in the description of this week's episode. Now, let's dive into what's happening across the Lou this week, April 6th through April 12th. First up, the Cardinals have a home stretch against the Boston Red Sox this weekend with games Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Patterns in Nature opens at the Missouri Botanical Gardens on Friday, April 10th. Speaking of Great Rivers Greenway, the Confluence Trash Bash is this Saturday. It's a volunteer cleanup effort for Great Rivers Greenway with open spaces. That is Saturday, April 11th. The Tower Grove Farmers Market is back, happening Saturday, April 11th. And the Central West End Back in Bloom event is Saturday, April 11th. Now, if you have an event that you want included in the calendar, reach out to us. You can find us on social media at What's New in the Lou on Facebook and on Instagram. You can also give us a follow there and stay in the know of everything happening across St. Louis. As always, thanks for listening.